My top takeaways from the Bills' preseason loss to the Giants are coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, folks, welcome in. The Buffalo Bills lost their preseason opener to the New York Giants, 34-25. And today I want to share with you my top takeaways from this performance. And look, it's preseason. The Bills lost the game, but the important takeaways aren't about game script. It's not really about the overall results. It's about how individual players performed. And I want to work through each position and share with you what stood out most to me at every position. And I want to start with quarterback because this is one of the most compelling storylines of the preseason. It's a open competition between Mitch Trubisky and Mike White to be Josh Allen's backup. And I think both did some really good things in this game. I think they both started a little slow, but then settled in. And you saw Mitch Trubisky utilize his athleticism a little bit. You saw some of the arm talent show up. And I thought he processed a little bit quicker compared to other times that I've seen Mitch Trubisky take the field for this Bills offense, including preseason. I think that he certainly has his limitations, but it was one of the rare times that I've watched Mitch Trubisky run this Bills offense and think, wow, that guy's functional and actually can make a play. And so I come out of this performance pretty encouraged, being mindful of some of the production that was left on the field that had nothing to do with Mitch Trubisky. How about Zach Davidson with that drop on that deep corner route? That would have been some big-time production, and maybe the result of the game's a little bit different. What if Tyrell Shavers has one more step in him to score before halftime? He has a second touchdown pass. You know, I think Mitch was pretty confident and relative to Mitch looked decent. I think the same thing happened with Mike White, where it came in, had some underwhelming moments, but then settled in. The offense found its groove, and you saw him lead a couple of touchdown drives. I thought he was pretty functional as well. Now, look, you can also tell that he doesn't have the ideal movement skills to create, to really move within the pocket like you want him to. So there's limitations there as well. But I thought relative to what these guys can truly offer, I thought they fared pretty well. Even Shane Buechele came in and found some completions. Now, I will say this. I would have given Mike White that last drive. I thought you had a really cool opportunity for Mike White to go on a game-winning drive, and then he came out of the game so that Shane Buechele could play a little bit. And let's be honest, Shane Buechele is going to be on the practice squad, assuming whoever between Trubisky and White gets signed by some other team. So I would have given those reps to Mike White, because I think that was a really good competitive opportunity for him to lead a game-winning drive. But I thought both quarterbacks were pretty sound relative to some of the low play that they're capable of. Let's talk receiver. I think the story here is Tyrell Shavers, 2 catches, 70 yards. First catch was a nice route win on a post. I think it was a post route. Created good separation, caught it in stride. And then, of course, the deep completion from Trubisky before the half. Continues to make noise. I think he's on a good path. I think he's had a good camp. And obviously the injury scare, that kind of derailed some of the momentum, but he's right back in there. And he's going to make it tough for the Bills to keep him off this roster because, as I continue to discuss, the Bills will need to find special teams contributions from the receiver core, and Shavers is a guy that should get those opportunities, and he's making plays in the passing game. Versatile player. You hear Joe Brady talk about the trust that they have in him. It's pretty meaningful. KJ Hamler caught a touchdown pass in this game. 39-yard completion on fourth down. It's a coverage bust by the Giants. I don't put too much into that play. What stands out to me about KJ Hamler was two massive decision-making errors in the return game. The first is that he didn't take a touchback on a kick return. And remember, that gets you to the 35-yard line, and he got tackled at the 20. That's a 15-yard loss. And then late in the game, he had an opportunity to field a punt, and he didn't. He let it bounce, and the Bills lost a bunch of field position. I mean, KJ Hamler probably cost the Bills 20 to 30 yards of field position because of two decision-making errors in the return game. And that's going to be part of his path. If KJ Hamler is going to make this team, it's going to be because the Bills trust him as a returner. And that's two major blunders. And he gets wide open on a coverage bust. I don't put that much into that. Josh Palmer, solid in his debut. 2 catches, 21 yards. Christian Wilkerson had a nice catch for 20 yards. Nearly came up with another one along the sideline. But when I think about this wide receiver core, it's mostly Tyrell Shavers that stands out to me. But it's also just really a quiet stretch here from Elijah Moore. He was the darling early in camp, OTAs, the route running. Doesn't feel like he's really making much noise at all. He certainly got all of the first team reps when the Bills were in 11 personnel in this game, but didn't really get much opportunity. Now, I will say that on that long 3rd and 15 that Mitch Trubisky found Dalton Kincaid on a shorter completion, and Kincaid kind of did some good things after the catch. He had Elijah Moore on an over route, but on that 3rd and 15, I think Mitch was just thinking, get the completion, let's get some yardage and punt. And if he would have been able to kind of keep his eyes down the field, I think he would have saw a wide open Elijah Moore. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the tape on Elijah Moore and figuring out, where the opportunities were, what was the route running like. And obviously, we'll see how this plays out, because I think there's some possibilities with the wide receiver 4, 5, 6 bucket that we assume is like Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel. But Tyrell Shavers might have something to say about that. Christian Wilkerson might have something to say about that. Jalen Virgil, who made a good play on special teams, might have something to say about that. Laviska Shenault, who looked good on his kick return opportunities, handled the punt return, actually was good offensively, had a 17-yard catch and a nice route win on the 2-point conversion, might have something to say about that. So I'm really curious to see how the bottom of this wide receiver core shakes itself out. Real quick on tight end. Kincaid had his one catch. I thought he looked good and physical after the catch. Dawson Knox with a touchdown reception. I don't think he was a false start. They called him for a false start like the first play of the game. I'm not sure that was true. Zach Davidson, 2 drops. He did have a nice special teams tackle, but 2 drops. And Jackson Hawes with a drop. But Jackson Hawes, the blocking stood out. He had a big-time impact block. It was a run to the left, and he was able to really wash down that side. When we do the All-22 review, I can assure you I will be sharing that clip for those that are part of our subtext or our Substack. You will see me rave about Jackson Hawes. That was unbelievable hand placement, the ability to sustain the block and really cave in that side of the line. Sprung a big run. So Davidson with the 2 drops is pretty concerning as a guy that, that's his thing. He's supposed to be the receiving player. Jackson Hawes, shallow route, drops the ball. The impact there is supposed to be on special teams. You like to see him catch the ball, though. But Kincaid and Knox both individually made a play. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk offensive line, running back. We got a lot to get into defensively, special teams, injuries. Folks, be sure to stick with me. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and I save more. It's surprising how much certain spending habits can add up, and Monarch makes it easy to identify them. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year I'm playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether it's your first ever league or a veteran that's in your millionth league. I've been using Yahoo Fantasy for years, and I love how smooth the draft day experience is, and it's easy to set up a league. The mobile app is awesome, and the smack talk hits just a little different on those message boards. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy sports on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season right around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you could still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, welcome back. Let's talk running back, offensive line, then start to get into the defense. At running back, I think people are curious about this James Cook situation. He's actively in a hold-in, and then he dressed for warm-ups and then didn't play in the game. And, of course, Sean McDermott meets with the media after the game and says that's the agreement they had. He said they had a good conversation about the situation and agreed to warm up but not play. And James Cook, under the circumstances of his pursuit of a new contract, is choosing to limit his exposures, probably to injury, but also try to force the issue, right? I'm fascinated to see what the resolution is going to be here. What gets James Cook back out there? It's probably regular season games where the fines can really start to kick in. That's probably, short of a contract extension, what's going to get him on the field. And so he's pulling the strings that he feels are necessary, and the hold-in continues. It's not ideal. James Cook's going to touch the ball a lot for this offense. You'd like to see him out there, getting reps, getting ready for the season. You want to hit the ground running. It's the first time in 9 years under Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane that we've had a story like this. It's uncharted territory for this regime. Does it lead to the result that James Cook's looking for? Time will tell. We'll see what happens. In his absence, I thought he had a couple of backs really stand out. I thought Ty Johnson and Frank Gore both were really strong. Ty Johnson, you see the blend of explosiveness and physicality. Frank Gore, good physical runner, has a good feel for space. The receiving contributions were significant in this game. So nice catch and run. Looked good. I thought when you consider that depth conversation beyond the top three of Cook, Johnson, and Davis, you think about Gore and Evans kind of battling it out maybe for one practice squad spot. I think this game was clearly a better performance for Frank Gore. And the Bills didn't really ran the ball like 15 times in this game. Wind up throwing it quite a bit. Now, we did see some good involvement of the running backs in the passing game, which does make me happy. I thought the real stars here were Ty Johnson and Frank Gore. Along the offensive line, I'm disappointed that Tylen Grable is in concussion protocol. I really wanted to see him. And so what I found interesting at tackle is, of course, Deion Dawkins did play a little bit. But then when it came to the next group of tackles, Chase Lunt Bill's 7th-round pick out of UConn played left tackle. Ryan Vandemark played right tackle. And it's kind of the opposite of where they're most natural. Chase Lunt, his entire career at UConn, was a right tackle. Ryan Vandemark, coming into the league, I'm pretty sure pretty much all of his reps were at left tackle. And even when he's gotten opportunities to play on the right side, it's not quite as good. And so I'm guessing the Bills were giving them opportunities to be a little uncomfortable and play in their less natural spots, right? I think you got to bring that out of them a little bit. Certainly felt like Chase Lunt held his own based on the live watch. I'm excited to watch the tape and really get a feel for how he performed, but I thought he looked pretty good. Ryan Vandemark, I want to study the tape there. I felt like he gave up pressure on the play where Trubisky was not able to connect with Palmer down the field. He had a one-on-one. Couldn't get the right sequencing on the throw, and that's because he had pressure from that right side. He also had pressure from the left side. It looked like David Edwards got worked on that play as well. Looks like Jacob Bear, the UDFA center, got some early run in this game. And then, unfortunately, Shane Buechele's game-winning drive opportunity was pretty much squashed because Jacob Bear sent it over his head. So that's going to stand out. But I'm excited to watch the tape because Jacob Bear, I think, has had a good camp. And he probably had a good game outside of, obviously, a major blunder with the snap. I thought the offensive line was all in all solid. It looks like Mike Edwards got worked for a sack, but I would say that Mike White got sacked. And I thought Mike White probably had an opportunity to feel that pressure a little bit and get rid of the ball. It was not a quick loss for Edwards. But we'll have more to say about the offensive line once we get a chance to study the tape. All right, let's start talking defense. We'll start with the defensive line. We'll start with defensive end. I thought the best player on the field for the Bills was Michael Hoecht. That dude was phenomenal. Setting really firm edges that were led to really good run fills by the second level. I thought his pass rush was phenomenal. His get off, his ability to kind of get level with the quarterback and hurry throws and show some power, compromising the width. I thought he was tremendous in this game. And I left watching that game disappointed that this guy's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season because, boy, he'd be helpful against Baltimore in week 1. I love the way he plays. I think he's quickly going to become one of my favorites on this team. He was phenomenal in this game. I thought he was comfortably the best player on the field for the Bills. You saw Joey Bosa get some run in this game. A couple of really nice run stops by Bosa. The young guys, Javon Solomon, Landon Jackson, I was wanting more from both. They got some opportunities late in the game against, third tackles for the Giants, and they were quiet. Of course, Landon Jackson has the blunder where he lines up in the neutral zone, and that negates an interception by Jordan Hancock. But then you just saw him struggle to really kind of force the issue with his physical traits, kind of getting stuck on blocks, not really able to turn and affect the quarterback. So we'll keep it in mind that it's his preseason debut, but I'm looking for more out of Landon Jackson these next 2 preseason games. He's going to have a big opportunity early in the season when Hoyt's suspended to be part of this mix. And if he can't prove it on special teams where Javon Solomon has, Solomon's going to dress over him. And Jackson's going to be inactive. So I'm looking for some growth there. All right, coming up next, the young defensive tackles, the rest of the defense, special teams, injuries. Folks, we got a lot to do here. Folks, be sure to stick with me. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. All right, folks, let's talk defensive tackle. Thought Ed Oliver was terrific defending the run. I thought the Bills in general were very good at defending the run in this game. But I thought that second group, so you saw like different waves of defensive tackles. It was Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones. Then it was Dwayne Carter and Larry Ogunjobi, which was not my favorite pairing. I don't think those guys really looked strong. But then the young guys, TJ Sanders and Deion Walker, I thought both guys were terrific in this game. I thought TJ Sanders had 2 quarterback hits, and it was unfortunate because it was on a touchdown. It was the Jackson Dart touchdown to little Jordan Humphrey over Dane Jackson. TJ Sanders was phenomenal with that pass rush. Jackson Dart was able to stare down the barrel and deliver a big-time throw. Thought his pass rush was consistent. I thought Deion Walker was really strong in this game as well. Obviously, he had the one play that stands out where he's able to really get that interior push and get his hand and deflect the ball. But he also had another really strong rush rep as well. I'm anxious to watch the tape on those guys and get a better feel for their overall impact. But you can kind of feel those guys watching it live, and that's what you want. That's what you want from young players. Those guys are going to be a big part of this defensive tackle formula for a long time. Really satisfied with how they looked. At linebacker, Matt Milano looks good, right? You saw him make that play out towards the sideline early in the game. Joe Andreessen getting the start for Terrell Bernard. I think he continues to show he belongs and really locking down that number 2 inside linebacker job. First in for Bernard. I think he's earned that every day. Couple of really good run fills. Should have had an interception, right? You got to haul that one in, man. But I think he's becoming a very good depth player for this team. The other thing that really stands out for me at linebacker is Adefwine Ulofoshio is just falling behind here in this competition. The undrafted free agent out of Virginia Tech, Keontae Jenkins, got run over Adefwine Ulofoshio, and I thought he looked better. And so that's something to keep in mind. If the Bills roster 5 linebackers, my thought right now is that it's going to be Bernard, Milano, Andreessen, Dorian Williams, and Shaq Thompson. And if they rostered 6, I think it might be Jenkins over Ulofoshio. So he's got a little time here, but you kind of felt this during training camp practices where certain players were getting reps over him, and I really do think he's kind of falling behind. It's not my expectation that he's going to make this team. At corner, let's talk about Trey White. Had some good moments, but I think he got worked a little bit in this game. You can tell that he was hyper-focused on maintaining that vertical leverage, so not letting people get behind him, and that kind of keeps him susceptible to routes that kind of work back down to the football, work back down stem. So we'll see. I mean, he's gonna get targeted a lot. When Christian Benford's on the other side, he's probably going to get targeted a good amount this year. And we'll see how that plays itself out. I thought his physicality was lacking in this game. And look, I think that's okay. It's preseason, but he was definitely in self-preservation mode a little bit. And then you kind of foil that against Taron Johnson, and maybe you wish Taron Johnson was in self-preservation mode a little bit more. But we'll see with Trey White. My thought of him coming out of my week with the Bills was that I think he can be functional. Look, I'm not going to say he's all the way back, but I think he can be functional. But he's probably going to perform at a level where we're going to be hungry to see where Max Hairston's at. So after it was White and Benford, I thought it was interesting that the next group of corner was Dorian Strong and Dane Jackson, which means Jamarcus Ingram is now on that third team. So I'm curious to see how this plays out because I don't know that there's room for Strong, Jackson, and Ingram. I think two of them can make it. Right now, it looks like Ingram's the odd man out. Another thing that really stood out to me at corner, which I think might kind of be a safety conversation as well, is that when Taron Johnson got roughed up and left the game, Corey Couch was the first defensive back in. And I need to watch the tape to know where everyone lined up, but it's my suspicion that when Taron went down, Cam Lewis went to the slot, and Corey Couch came in at safety, which would be an indicator that he's ahead of Derek Forrest and Jordan Hancock on this depth chart. I mentioned this on one of my practice recaps when I was at camp last week, is that Corey Couch was getting some pretty early run with the defense. So that's a name to keep in mind here. It looks like he's making some noise here. Maybe he's a candidate for the 53. But he's getting some early opportunities. He had 2 pass breakups in this game. I thought he was strong. At safety, no Taylor Rapp, no Cole Bishop. So your starters were Cam Lewis and Damar Hamlin. I thought Damar Hamlin had some good plays downhill against the run. I know that he's faced a lot of criticism for the touchdown that Dane Jackson gave up. I need to check the tape and see what the coverage was, but I think it was cover 3, and Dane Jackson got beat. Like, I don't know what the expectation of Damar Hamlin on that play was going to be. I know that everyone romanticizes about that Micah Hyde play, but if you're the middle of the field deep defender, you're not responsible for that other third. And it looks like he loafed, but I don't know. I don't think we're interpreting that correctly. I need to check the tape on that, but he's facing some harsh criticism, and I'm not even sure what people expected him to do if he's the deep middle of the field defender. How is he supposed to go to the other third and make a play on the ball? It's physics are not really working out there. Jordan Hancock came in. He should have had an interception. Landon Jackson took that away. I thought he had some good downhill plays as well. There was a really nice play where he was able to leverage a block and funnel a run back inside. He made some good physical tackles, missed one as well. So bit of a mixed bag for Jordan Hancock, but certainly more good than bad. On special teams, how fun was it to watch Ray Davis kick an extra point? That was cool, right? Sean McDermott commented on that after the game and said, look, we've been in games where the other team's kicker gets hurt. It's happened twice. It was both against Carolina. Once the last time the Bills hosted the Panthers in Buffalo, and then the preseason game last year, the Panthers kicker got hurt both games. It's a real possibility. You could be in a game and your kicker goes down. What's your plan? What's functional? So it's good to get that rep. But then Caden Davis, who the Bills signed UDFA out of Texas A&M, came in. He made his field goal and his extra point. He did have the one blunder on the kickoff where he kicked a touchback, which was terrible, like the opening kick. Because now that this thing goes to 35, I'm sure you felt this. They got 1 first down barely, and those guys were in field goal range. This dude for the Jaguars made a 70-yard field goal, Cam Little, in the preseason game. Like, you get 1 first down and you're in field goal range with these kickers these days. You cannot concede the 35. You can't. You gotta be able to cover kicks based on these new rules. Brad Robbins, the Bills punter, I thought he was mostly good. 3 punts inside the 20, did have the 1 touchback. He had 1 that was a line drive. I mean, he was a little inconsistent, but I thought his punts were mostly good. And my expectations are pretty low based on the 2023 season. He looked functional. I mean, think about it like this. He had a 53-yard average with 3 punts inside the 20. That's pretty impressive. So I think all in all, it was a good day for Brad Robbins. Injuries, I think the Bills got out of this game pretty clean. Taron Johnson was checked for concussion, but was cleared to return. Keontae Jenkins had a hand laceration. He returned. Wande Owens had a bloody nose. He returned. The only player that did not return was Daquan Hardy, who had a shoulder injury, and he went for x-rays. We don't know the extent there. I thought it was encouraging also that Cole Bishop and Curtis Samuel dressed for warm-ups. They didn't practice, or they didn't play, but at least they were out there in warm-ups in uniform. It suggests that they're trending in a good direction. I think this team is getting a little bit more healthy than I think our panic level wants to admit. I think you have Khalil Shakir and Maxwell Harrison as your and Tyler Bass. I think those are the three that you're kind of concerned about. Maybe Cedric Van Pran-Granger. But I mean, we know the timetables there. We know that Khalil Shakir is a 4-week deal and he's expected to play week 1. We know it's an LCL sprain for Max Harrison, probably 2, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. Bass with this pelvis thing doesn't make me feel good. And then the mystery injury is Cedric Van Pran-Granger, who has not practiced at all with this calf deal. I'm kind of curious about that, but obviously a depth offensive lineman, and the Bills have some other candidates. So looks like the team is reasonably healthy right now. All right, folks, there you have it. My top takeaways at each position coming out of this live watch of Bills Giants. And we're going to go deeper with this because I'm going to spend tomorrow in the All-22 film breaking it down. So our next episode will be the All-22 review. And if you're part of our Substack or our subtext, you're going to get the actual clips. I'm going to, you know how I do this, send you all the big plays and break them down with voiceover commentary with All-22 film. If you want to be part of our subtext or our Substack, link in today's show notes. Go ahead and jump in on that, and that way you'll get that All-22 review film when I'm done with it. Might be Monday. We'll see. Sundays are, family stuff, so I might not get to it all on Sunday, but on Monday at some point you'll get that file, and then we'll get the podcast up. So it's that time of year, folks. Kind of getting in that rhythm. I'm excited for it. All right, that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. Thanks for being here. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.